The starving alien child. The market was dead. Not the usual hum of alien voices bargaining or the clatter of goods exchanging hands. The stalls, once bursting with strange fruits and shimmering fabrics, sat abandoned beneath a heavy grey sky. Dust swirled between broken crates and twisted metal frames, remnants of a place that had long lost its warmth. But beneath the cracked canopy crouched a small figure, a child, thin to the point of fragility, with skin the color of twilight and eyes like deep, swirling galaxies. The child shivered, clutching a tattered cloth to their chest. Every breath was shallow, each movement slow and weak. Hunger carved deep lines across the child's face, but it was not just hunger for food. There was a deeper, aching loneliness etched in their every gesture. The crowd that gathered near, the market's edge, didn't move closer. They avoided the child with a wide berth, whispering among themselves, but never daring to approach. Some cast fearful glances, others looked away quickly, as if the child's presence was a dangerous secret no one wanted to touch. Except for one man. The man stepped forward, tall, weathered, with eyes sharp like a hawk's, but carrying a softness, rare in this hardened world. He was human, one of the few left who had come to this far corner of the galaxy. Around him, aliens murmured warnings, shaking their heads, but the man's gaze never wavered from the child. "Come here," he said softly, his voice a low rumble that barely disturbed the heavy silence. The child flinched, eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. They didn't move. A ripple of tension swept through the crowd. "What are you doing?" one alien hissed, stepping forward, tentacles twitching in agitation. The man ignored the warning and crouched down, stretching out a hand. His fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from years of harsh survival and endless battles with doubt. "I won't hurt you," he said. "You need help." The child's eyes darted around, searching, desperate. Slowly, as if pulled by an invisible thread, a single pale hand reached out. As their fingers touched, the air seemed to change, a sudden sharp crackle of energy that made everyone gasp. The child's eyes flashed, bright and wild, before they slumped back, exhausted. The man caught them, careful, supporting the frail body. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered. But the crowd recoiled, their fear turning to anger. "Stay away! You don't know what you're dealing with," a voice shouted. The man ignored them and looked down at the child's face. Something about this small being was more than just hunger and weakness. It was a mystery, one that could unravel everything they thought they knew. Suddenly, a deep rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the broken canopy. The crowd scattered in panic. The man's grip tightened around the child. "Hold on, I'm not leaving you." Far off in the distance, a faint, eerie glow flickered, like a warning or a promise. The starving, alien child, the one no one dared to approach, had just found their protector, and whatever was coming next, no one was ready for it. The stranger's choice. The ground trembled beneath their feet, the low rumble fading but leaving a trail of unease in the air. The crowd, once a silent wall of judgment and fear, had scattered into the shadows of the ruined marketplace. Only the man and the fragile alien child remained in the center of that forgotten place. The man gently lifted the child into his arms, careful not to jostle the delicate frame. The child's breathing was shallow, but steady. The galaxy-hued eyes fluttered open, revealing a spark of awareness, a fragile light in a world that had all but abandoned them. The man looked down, his voice steady but soft. "You're safe now. I'll take care of you." He glanced around. The marketplace was empty, the silence oppressive. He needed to move, to find shelter. But questions swirled inside him, questions he didn't yet dare ask aloud. He carried the child through the winding streets of the alien city, a place both strange and familiar in its decay. Here, towering spires clawed at the sky, their surfaces cracked and faded. Strange machines lay dormant, their purpose forgotten by time and neglect. Despite the child's exhaustion, their gaze followed the man's every movement. They didn't speak, but their eyes held a depth that spoke volumes. Fear, suspicion, and something else. Something that the man couldn't yet understand. His name was Jonah, a trader by profession, a wanderer by choice. He had come to this sector chasing rumors of lost civilizations and forgotten secrets, but nothing had prepared him for this. Back at his small quarters, he settled the child on a worn cot and fetched what little food he had left. Water, ration bars, a few nutrient packs, basic sustenance for a being whose biology he didn't understand. The child stared at the food, hesitant. Then with a fragile hand, reached out and took a ration bar. Their small fingers trembled as they ate, each bite seeming to drain the last of their strength. Jonah watched, heart heavy. "Why is no one helping you?" he asked quietly. The child's eyes filled with a shadow of pain. Then a faint whisper broke the silence. "They fear me," Jonah frowned. "Fear? Why?" The child didn't answer, only looked away as if the truth was too heavy to bear. Jonah's thoughts raced. In his years among the stars, he'd seen distrust and prejudice, but this fear was different, ancient, deep-rooted, almost primal. A knock came at the door. Jonah tensed, shielding the child with his body. "Jonah, are you there?" The voice was soft, cautious. He opened the door to find Mara, a local guide who had helped him navigate the city's labyrinthine streets. Her eyes flicked to the child, then back to Jonah. "You brought it here," she said, her tone sharp but wary. "Do you realize what this means?" Jonah shook his head. "I don't know what it means, but this child needs help. I can't just leave them." Mara sighed, stepping inside. "You don't understand. This isn't just a starving child. There are stories, old stories, about this kind of being. They say it's a curse or a sign of something terrible coming." Jonah felt a chill. "Stories or not, I won't abandon someone in need." Mara looked away, conflicted. "Just be careful. People here don't take kindly to those who get involved in things they don't understand." That night, Jonah kept watch. The child slept fitfully, murmuring in a language he couldn't comprehend. Outside, strange lights flickered in the distance, casting eerie shadows on the cracked walls. As dawn approached, the child suddenly stirred, eyes snapping open. "Wide. Help," they whispered. "They come," Jonah's heart pounded. "Who comes?" But the child was already struggling to rise, their small body trembling with urgency. Suddenly the lights outside exploded into a radiant flare, bathing the city in unnatural color. Jonah grabbed the child, pulling them close. "Hold on. I'm not letting anything happen to you." The air grew thick with tension, and distant sounds of approaching footsteps echoed down the empty streets. The city was waking up. But something darker was stirring. The next hours blurred into a frantic race. Jonah carried the child through hidden alleys and forgotten tunnels, each step a gamble between safety and discovery. As they paused in a narrow passage, the child clutched his arm. "They seek to take me," they said, voice trembling. "They fear the truth I hold." Jonah frowned. "What truth?" Before the child could answer, a group of figures appeared at the tunnel's entrance, shadowed forms moving with purpose and quiet menace. Jonah stepped in front of the child, raising a hand. "Stay back." The figures hesitated. Then one spoke. In a cold voice. "You don't understand what you're protecting," they warned. "That child's presence brings ruin." Jonah met the gaze without flinching. Maybe it's time someone stood for what's right. A tense standoff followed, broken only when the child suddenly shone with a strange light, a glow that seemed to pulse from within. The pursuers recoiled, fear etched in their faces. Jonah's eyes widened. What is that?" The child looked at him, eyes filled with ancient sorrow. "The truth." Before Jonah could react, The figures retreated, vanishing into the shadows with a warning. "Run!" the child urged. Jonah hesitated, then nodded. "We run." Back at his quarters, Jonah locked the door behind them. He looked at the child, his mind racing. "This is bigger than us," he said. "You're not just hungry or alone. There's something dangerous about you, or about what?" "You know," the child's gaze was steady. "I hold secrets that someone buried, but I trust you." Jonah swallowed hard. Trust was a fragile thing, especially here. But one thing was clear. This small, starving alien child was the key to a mystery that could change everything, and Jonah was the only one brave enough to face it. The hidden truth. The city's shadows stretched long as night deepened, swallowing every alley and empty street in darkness. But inside Jonah's small quarters, the faint glow from the child, the alien with eyes like swirling galaxies, cut through the gloom. Jonah sat across from the child, trying to piece together the fragments of a puzzle that seemed to grow more confusing by the minute. "You said you hold secrets," Jonah said, voice low. "What kind of secrets?" The child's eyes, reflecting 1,000 stars, looked distant. "Not all truths are safe. Some are buried to protect." Jonah leaned forward. "Protect whom? And from what?" The child's gaze sharpened, urgency rising. "From those who fear change, and from those who crave control." Before Jonah could ask more, a sharp noise interrupted them. The faint hum of an electronic device outside, followed by the distant echo of footsteps. Jonah's heart raced. "They're close," the child nodded, their small hand trembling slightly. "They come to silence." The next day, Jonah ventured out into Jonah's mind spun. Who were they? And why was this child so important? The next day, Jonah ventured out into the city, the child wrapped carefully in a worn cloak. Their destination was a forgotten archive, a place whispered about in the marketplace, but avoided by most. The archive was a crumbling building of stone and metal, its doors sealed tight. But Mara, Jonah's cautious guide, had a way in. Inside, rows of dusty holographic records and ancient data crystals awaited, relics of a civilization. Long past, Jonah placed the child on a bench. "Stay here," he said softly. The child nodded, eyes still wary but trusting. Jonah sifted through data crystals until one hummed faintly under his touch. A recording of a long-lost scientist speaking of a child of stars, a being born from a dying world with knowledge that could reshape the galaxy. "The child," Jonah whispered. "Could this be you?" The child's eyes filled with pain. "I am the last." A sudden noise startled them. Mara appeared in the doorway, breathless. "They found us," she warned. "We don't have much time." Back outside, shadows moved swiftly. Figures in dark suits searched the streets with mechanical precision, their eyes scanning for any sign of the child. Jonah gripped the child's hand tightly. "We have to move." They ducked into narrow alleys, weaving through the city's forgotten paths. The child's strength was fading fast. In a hidden alcove, the child paused. "There is a place," they whispered, "where answers wait." Jonah helped them stand. "Then we find it, together." The journey took them beyond the city's edge, into a vast wasteland, dotted with strange crystalline structures that hummed with energy. At the center stood a massive monolith covered in ancient symbols that glowed faintly under the child's touch. Jonah watched as the child pressed their hands against the stone. Light erupted, revealing visions of distant stars, dying worlds, and a warning, a prophecy of destruction and hope intertwined. The child's origin, Jonah realized. This place holds the truth, but the visions also showed a dark force pursuing them, shadowy figures bent on wiping out anyone who dared uncover the secret. "We're not alone," Jonah said grimly. The child's voice was steady, but filled with sorrow. "They fear what I know, but the truth must be told." Suddenly, a piercing sound shattered the silence. The pursuers had found them. Jonah pulled the child behind the monolith as energy pulses streaked through the air. The battle was invisible, but deadly. Strange devices aimed to capture or destroy. Jonah's mind raced. They needed a plan. "We can't fight them head-on," he whispered. "But maybe the monolith can help." The child nodded, concentrating. The symbols glowed brighter, and a protective shield shimmered around them. The pursuers hesitated, then retreated. For now, safe for the moment, Jonah looked at the child. "This is bigger than anything I imagined." The child smiled faintly, a glimmer of hope breaking through their weariness. "Together we will face what comes." Jonah nodded, no matter the cost. As they prepared to leave, the monolith's light pulsed again, revealing one last message, a warning, and a choice that could change the fate of their worlds forever. The unseen threat. The monolith's glow faded behind them as Jonah and the child slipped back into the shadows of the wasteland. The quiet hum of the crystalline structures lingered in the air, a reminder of the secrets they had uncovered, and the danger that now hunted them. Jonah's grip on the child's hand tightened. "We can't stay here, we need allies." The child's eyes, bright and weary, met his. "There is one, but finding them is a risk." The city was colder than Jonah remembered when they returned, the streets stripped of life and hope. Rumors had spread quickly. The child was no ordinary being, but a key to a power many feared. Jonah knew that some in the city would help, while others would betray them. Their first stop was Mara's hidden enclave, an underground refuge where the outcasts and rebels gathered. Mara had been cautious but loyal, and her people were skilled at moving unseen. Inside the enclave, faces flickered in torchlight, wary eyes that watched the child with a mixture of fear and curiosity. One woman stepped forward, her voice steady. "If what you say is true, then this child could change everything." Jonah nodded. "But we're running out of time. The ones chasing us will stop at nothing." The rebels agreed to help, preparing supplies and weapons, not for violence but for defense. As night fell, the city's pulse quickened with unseen movements. Shadows lengthened, and whispers carried warnings. Jonah felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. The child was more than a secret or a mystery. They were a symbol of hope and fear entwined. Suddenly, a distant explosion shattered the night, sending tremors through the enclave. "We're under attack!" Mara shouted. Chaos erupted as armed figures stormed the refuge. The rebels fought back fiercely, but the enemy's technology was advanced, their tactics ruthless. Jonah shielded the child, moving swiftly through the turmoil. "We have to get out," he urged. The child nodded, their small hands glowing faintly with light. As they fled, the child whispered, "They want to silence me before the truth spreads." Jonah's heart pounded. "Then we'll make sure they never do." The escape was perilous. They dodged patrols and traps, the city transforming into a labyrinth of danger. At one point, Jonah was separated from the group, cornered in a narrow alley by two pursuers. With quick thinking, he used a discarded device, a flicker of light and sound, to disorient them, slipping away into the maze of streets. He reunited with the child, near an ancient transport hub, long abandoned but still operational. "We leave now," Jonah said. "We can't fight them here." On the rusted platform, Jonah activated the old ship's controls, the engines groaning to life. As they prepared for takeoff, the child's glow intensified, the energy pulsing like a heartbeat. Jonah looked at them with awe and worry. "What is that power?" The child hesitated, then spoke softly. "It is the knowledge of my people, a gift and a burden." The ship lifted off, rising above the city's ruins. But below, the enemy regrouped, their resolve hardened. Jonah set a course for the stars, knowing that the real battle was just beginning. Secrets in the stars. The ship hummed softly as it cut through the blackness of space, a tiny beacon moving. Against the endless sea of stars, Jonah sat beside the child, whose glow had dimmed, but whose eyes remained alert. "Where are we going?" Jonah asked quietly. The child's gaze traced distant constellations. "To a place forgotten by time, my home world." Jonah's breath caught. "You want to return?" The child nodded. "It holds the answers we seek, but it's dangerous, ruled by those who fear what I carry." Days passed in silence as the ship drifted closer to a distant planet, its surface scarred and lifeless from long years of neglect and war. The child's memories were a fragile thread leading the way through the ruins. When they landed, the planet's desolation was overwhelming, vast. Deserts of ash, shattered cities and skies darkened by storms. Yet beneath the ruin, Jonah sensed something alive. A hidden network, a last refuge. Guided by the child, they journeyed deeper into the planet's core, uncovering an ancient vault sealed for centuries. With a combination of the child's alien knowledge and Jonah's quick wit, they managed to unlock the vault's defenses. Inside, holographic records flickered to life, images of a civilization lost but not forgotten, a story of hope, betrayal, and sacrifice. The child's voice trembled as they watched the recordings. "My people created this knowledge to protect the galaxy, to share a truth too dangerous for some to know." Jonah stepped closer. "What truth?" The recordings revealed a cosmic threat, an ancient enemy whose power could destroy entire worlds, hidden deep in the shadows of space. "My people had the key to stop it," the child said, "but fear and mistrust tore us apart. They hunted me to keep this secret buried." Jonah's mind raced. "That's why they want to silence you." Suddenly, an alarm blared, their presence detected. Outside, the shadowy pursuers had tracked them to the vault. Jonah grabbed the child's hand. "We have to move, now." They raced through twisting corridors, pursued by forces determined to end their mission. At the surface, the ship waited, engines flaring to life. As they lifted off, Jonah looked back at the ruined world, the weight of loss heavy on his heart. "This isn't over," the child said, "but we have a chance to change everything." The choice that changed the galaxy. The ship sailed through the silent void, a fragile vessel carrying the weight of a secret that could save or destroy entire worlds. Jonah sat beside the child, their hands still linked, both exhausted but determined. Ahead lay a decision, one that would shape the future of not just their worlds, but the entire galaxy. The child's voice was soft, yet full of resolve. "The threat is real. The darkness waits beyond the edge of known space." Jonah nodded. "We can't run from it any longer. What must we do?" The child looked up, eyes reflecting distant stars. "We must share the knowledge, unite those willing to listen, but it will cost us." Jonah swallowed hard. "Are you ready?" The child smiled faintly. "I have no choice." They contacted allies, those few who still believed in hope and truth. The message was clear. Unite against the coming storm, or face extinction alone. As their call echoed across the stars, old enemies emerged, unwilling to surrender power or fear. Jonah and the child prepared for the final confrontation, not with weapons, but with courage and truth. The battle was fought not on battlefields, but in hearts and minds. The child's story spread, awakening fear, hope, and unity in equal measure. In the quiet after the through hardship, trust grew. Enemies became allies. The shadow that once threatened to consume them all began to recede. In the quiet after the storm, Jonah looked at the child. "We made it. Against all odds," the child's glow softened. "Because you believed. Because we did not give in to fear." Jonah smiled. "This is just the beginning." The galaxy was changed forever, not by power, but by a simple act of bravery. The lesson was clear. Fear divides, but courage unites. Truth, no matter how difficult, is the light that guides us through the darkest night. And sometimes All it takes is one brave man willing to stand for what's right. The end.